So in the last episode, we set up our API to show the dates at which our vehicles are reserved. So in this episode, we want to take this right here and add two new fields, so pickup date and drop-off date, and then display the vehicles that don't have an overlap between those dates and the reservations already made. I showed you how this looks at the beginning of the last video, so you can check that out. I'm not going to spend any time on that right here because we have a lot of work to do, as you will see. So let's get right into it. Okay, so first of all, we need some kind of date picker widget for Vue, and I chose this one, so vue DateTime, because it gives the user to pick the date and to pick the time. Okay, how do you install it? As you can see, it looks like this. You install it by doing npm install, and you would save a Luxon because this is based on Luxon, vue DateTime, and Vuex start. Copy this, paste it into our console and wait for it to install. Okay, so now that we have it installed, we need to implement it into our application. And the easiest way to do that, as you can see, you can just import it locally like this. So import DateTime, vue DateTime. Let's go to our code editor and we are going to go to the reservation form because this is where we will need those fields. And I'm just going to import it right here. So import DateTime and put it right here, DateTime. Great. Now we have access to DateTime component. And if I just add it here, save it, check it in the browser, in our application. As you can see, you don't get anything, but when you click somewhere right here, then you get this, right? So this doesn't look very good. And why is that? Well, this is because we need to import the CSS for this plugin. And I think it says right here somewhere, as you can see, import vue DateTime dist CSS. So I'm just going to copy this out. Go to our code editor and we are going to go to main.js file and just include it right here, right? Save this. If we go to our browser right now and if I click it, we still don't have any stylings for the actual input field, so you can't see it right here, but if I click it, you can see that it shows. Okay, so this works. We have our DateTime present. As you can see, I chose December 7th. Let's just go to our code editor, go to the reservation form, and I'm going to add some styling to this. And I'm mostly going to copy it out. So instead of this, I'm just going to paste this in. I'm going to add a div right here, which is going to wrap around our input select. And also I'm just going to add this to be flexbox and align items to the end. Save it, check it out. Okay, as you can see, this doesn't look very good. Let me just change some things right here. So this width is actually causing the problem. So I'm just going to remove it. Check it out in the browser. Now this looks a bit better, but I just want to add a margin of 4, MR4 or margin right 4 on this field so that now this looks a bit better. Right, so we have pickup location, pickup time, drop-off time. If I choose this still works, of course. And if I choose pickup location and time, this works. Great. So what I added right here, just to go quickly through the code, I just wrapped these fields into these divs right here, which have mostly margin of 4. This one has margin left of 4, so this is our button, which is going to filter our vehicles a little bit later on. And we have pickup time label, drop-off time label, and we have these two DateTime fields with the type of DateTime. So this is important. You have to have DateTime type so that you can choose time and date. Then you have this input class prop, which will just contain all of our classes so that we can style our field. And that's it. Okay, check it out once again. It looks like this. Great. Okay, so now we have a bit of a problem right here, because if I go to pick application and click this, I immediately get the vehicles that are available at Paris location. So we don't want that. We actually want for the filtering to happen once the user clicks filter vehicles, right? So we need to change this a little bit. Let's go to our code editor, go right here. As you can see, we have pick application, options, locations. Okay, on select filter vehicles, nope. We are going to call this set location. Set location, and we need to create that method right here. Okay, we are accepting a value, of course, which is going to be the ID of the location, and then we just want to dispatch it to our store. Of course, we first of all need to set up that method in our store. So I'm going to call that method also set location, right? And let me just see, let me put it right here. So set location. And it's going to, this is just going to commit our value to the location data that we have right here, which we still didn't define. So location. I'm going to set it to null because it's going to be a number. And let me just see. Okay, nothing. And let's just create our mutation. I'm just going to copy this. Set location. Okay, so this is going to set our location in the data. We don't need a getter for this, so I'm not going to create it. So this set location is just going to, I'm just going to copy this out. So commit set location to be value, right? Save this. Let's see if this works. Oh, this should not work because we still didn't define this method right here. And this method is going to be very similar to this one. And so this store dispatch set location, and we are just sending this value, which is always going to be a number. Great. Save this. Let's check it out now. So if we go to our Vue DevTools, and we go to Vuex, if I choose a location, for example, Paris, as you can see, this right here changes. Let me make it a bit bigger. Nope. Okay, so as you can see, this location right here changes. So if I change it to New York, now it's 1. Great. So now we created our set location method, which is going to set location in our data store. Next thing we need to do, we need to add these dates to our data store. So now in our reservation form, I'm just going to create input event right here, and I'm going to call a method, which we are going to create a bit later, which is going to be called set date. Set date, and this is going to emit event, and I'm just going to add a string to it, which is going to be pickup. And also the same thing is going to go right here, but this one is going to be called Dropoff. Okay, I'm doing this because I don't want to create two methods for the pickup and for the drop-off date. I just want to have one set date method, and then I'm just going to use some logic to fill out our data. Okay, so now right here we're going to have set date, which is going to accept value and the type. And now I'm going to say this store dispatch, but instead of sending value, I'm going to send it to a method which we are going to be creating called setDates. Okay, what did we call this method? SetDate. Okay, setDates, and I'm going to send an object with a value and a type. Right, save this. Now I'm just going to create setDates method. So this method is going to, of course, accept commit state and the date that we are getting. So the date is going to be an object that we are sending from here. Okay, and I'm just going to say this. So if date type is equal to pickup, then do something. Then commit. So we are going to create a mutation called setPickup, and we are going to send date value. Next thing we are going to do is just say return right here. So if this is not pickup, then it's obviously drop-off, right? So we are just going to commit it to be set drop-off. Drop-off, and it's going to be date value also. Okay, so let me just show you what is happening here. So right here, I'm just going to comment this out for the time being, and I'm just going to say a date.log. So that we can see what is happening exactly. So if I go to my console right now and I just do this pickup time and select it, click OK, what I'm going to get, so this is the object we are sending, so I'm sending this date right here, and I'm also sending the type of pickup. If I do it on this side, click OK, now I'm sending the date and the drop-off, right? So this is our logic. And next, then we just need to determine if this is a pickup or drop-off, and then set the mutations and set that data. So first of all, of course, we need to set pickup, which is going to be a string, and drop-off, which is also going to be a string. And now create two mutations, right? Set pickup. It's just the same code all over again, over and over again, actually. Okay, so we did that, and let's just see if this works. So if we go to our Vue DevTools, now we have, as you can see, pickup, and we have drop-off. So if I choose this date to be our pickup date, as you can see, now we have pickup in our store. If I choose this date to be drop-off, now I have a drop-off in our store. Okay, so this works. Now we have our location, we have our dates. Next thing we need to do, we need to create a logic for filtering those vehicles based on location and based on those dates. And that's what we are going to be doing right now. Now I'm just going to warn you that the code that we are going to be writing could probably be written much better, but we are going to be doing it this way so that it's more easily understandable. So first of all, as you can see right here, we have filtered vehicles. So filter vehicles method right here, which we created in the previous episodes. So I'm just actually going to go to the reservation form, and on this button, filter vehicles, I'm just going to add a click event that is going to call filter vehicles method that we already have right here. So filter vehicles, but we don't need the value. We just need filter vehicles method, and I'm just going to remove this, right? Save this. Okay, so now in our store, we also don't need this value because we got our location in our data. So instead of return location ID if it's equal to the value, because we were sending value before, we want to do something like this state.location. Okay, so this date location should give us the same thing that we were getting before. I'm just going to comment out this commit and do something like filtered. Okay, save it, go to the browser. Now if I click on Paris and click filter vehicles, if we go to our console, we can see that in Paris we have 2 vehicles. In Peckham, filter vehicles, we have just 1 vehicle, and in New York, if I filter it, we actually have 4 vehicles. So we have all of the vehicles in New York. Great. Now, so we got our vehicles by location already figured out and already calculated. Next thing we need to do is take those filtered vehicles and then compare the dates and see if the dates that the user has chosen are overlapping with the reserved dates that we already have for those vehicles. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, and first of all I'm just going to create another variable which is going to be an empty array, and it's going to be called filtered vehicles. Okay. Now, what we want to do right here, first of all, we want to go through each of these vehicles that we got from our locations. So we got a location set up. Now we want to go through those vehicles and see if the dates are overlapping one another. So first of all, we just do filtered dot for each vehicle. So we are entering a for each loop right here. And then first of all, we just want to create a simple condition. Just a simple condition to see if our vehicles even have any dates present. Because if they don't have any dates present, that automatically means that those vehicles are available at any date, right? So we just do if so what we said right here is if vehicle dates length, so if vehicle has dates, so if the array of dates is filled with something, then do something right here and return or end this loop or this condition. If the vehicle doesn't have anything in the dates array, then you can just add it to the filter vehicles array. So filtered vehicles push, and we want to push the vehicle, right? And that's it. So we just pushed our vehicle into this filtered vehicles array. Okay, so now if the vehicle actually has some dates, we need to go through those dates and see if they overlap with the dates that the user has picked. And to do that, we just do vehicle dates. So these are the dates that we are getting from our API. Vehicle dates for each. For each, it's going to be date. And now I'm just going to set up few dates. So these are our dates. Start date 1 is going to be date.pickup. End date 1 is going to be a date.dropoff. So these are the start and end dates that we are getting from our API. Next thing, we need to have start date 2 and end date 2, which are going to be this state pickup. So this is the date from our state or our data, and this is the drop-off date from our data. So end date 2, start date 2. Now we need some logic to compare those dates. And I'm just going to write it out, and then I'm going to visually show you what this logic actually does. So first of all, I want to create something called overlaps right here. So this is also going to be an empty array in which we are going to set the overlap for each date. So as you can imagine vehicles can be reserved for multiple dates, right? Just like we have right now in our application. So TARDIS is reserved for multiple date ranges. Now we want to have if those dates are overlapping, we want to push them in this array, and we are just going to push true or false. And if it's true, that means that the dates are overlapping. So if we have any true condition, any true value in this overlaps array, then that means that that vehicle is not available. But if all our values in the overlaps array are false, then that means that our vehicle is available. So let me just write this code out, and then I will visually explain to you what actually is happening. So overlaps push, that push, and now we are going to write our comparison. So the comparison is going to be start date 1. If start date 1 is smaller than end date 2, and so both of these conditions must be false for the vehicle to be available. So if the start date 2 is less than end date 1. Okay, so now I'm going to visually show you in kind of a presentation form how this actually works. I hope that this will make much more sense to you than just watching this code. So let's say these are our dates. Now let's add some date ranges to them. So this is start date 1, end date 1, start date 2, end date 2. Great. Now, as you can see, they're overlapping right here. So let's try to implement our formula in this example. So start date 1 is less than end date 2. Start date 1, end date 2. This is true, right? Start date 2 is less than end date 1. So this is start date 2. This is obviously less than end date 1. So this is also true. Now, when you write something like this, these both have to be either true or false for this to calculate to true. So this will calculate because we have true and true to true. And that means there is an overlap. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. So now we have just one empty day right here, and we have two date ranges that are not overlapping. So let's test our formula now. So start date 1 is less than end date 2, right? It is. So that's true. Now the next part of the formula is start date 2, which is this one, is less than end date 1, which is this one. This is not true, this is false. Because we have true and false right here, this will calculate to false, and that means that there is no overlap. Let's just quickly take a look at our overlaps array. Okay, save it. If we go to our browser, choose Paris, pickup time 7th, okay, drop-off time 14th, okay, filter vehicles. As you can see, we get true false. This is probably our TARDIS, so true false. This means that this vehicle is actually not available at this time. And if we check our dates, you can see that the TARDIS is actually reserved from December 10th to the 18th. So that overlaps with the dates that the user has picked out. Okay, so this works, and we can just do something like this. So if overlaps does not include true, remember, for vehicle to be available, it must not include true in this overlaps array. So if it doesn't include true, then we just want to push that vehicle to the filter vehicles list. Otherwise, we just return. We don't push anything to the list, and that's it, right? And this should actually be it. This should actually be the end of that logic. We will just uncomment this thing out and set this to be not filtered, but filtered vehicles. Save it, and let's just test out our application. So let's choose Paris, and let's choose 7th and 14th, like in the example before, and filter our vehicles. As you can see, we get the DeLorean right here. We are not getting the TARDIS because TARDIS is reserved. But if I change the dates, so let's put this to be 8. Okay, if I filter vehicles now we get TARDIS because TARDIS is available in this time span. Okay, so let's just create one more thing, actually just one more constraint. So this DateTime plugin actually accepts something called min-max dates. So min date is going to be now. Because we don't want the user to be able to choose date that was before now. So let's say yesterday. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we are going to set min date time now, and this now is going to actually be a computed property. This is going to be a computed property, so I'm just going to say const date equals to new date now. And now we just want to return date to isostring, because this is going to give us Unix timestamp, and we want to convert it to ISO string so that the DateTime picker can actually use it. Okay, so if I save this, go to our browser. Now if I click on the pickup time, as you can see, I can't select the 6th, 5th and so on. And the same thing is true for the drop-off time. Okay, so this has been it for this long video, but I'm actually not even that disappointed that the video is so long, because we really had a lot of things to do. So just remember, everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.